Welcome to my first episode. And I was reflecting today, and I don't even want this to be like episode 1, episode 2. I just want it to be a natural share. So, welcome to the thoughts of Sara, the teachings, the realness, the authenticity, the just raw shares of this human experience. This is something that I feel so passionate about really being able to share the truth and the rawness of this whole human experience. We're living in a world right now where I think it's going to be even more ramped up, where you're going to really being able to see, things from AI, the masking, the scripts, the just marketing, speaking so loudly, but without the depth, without the essence. Because in this day and age, you can be a really, really great marketer, which can be great. But actually then when people come into your spaces, they will feel that space isn't held. And this is something that I am so passionate about in so many instances, from either online containers to actually in-person events and spaces. So, welcome to all things real, raw, and definitely untamed. I have a membership called Untamed, and this is the work. This is the work of untaming ourselves and reclaiming. You'll hear me say this word a lot. Reclamation for me has been such a journey, and it continues to be such a journey of seeing, and it can feel really confronting when you can see how much you have given your power away. Now, when we start to see these things, it is not to fall into the depths of depression and sadness, but actually we can sometimes see why, potentially, if you have suffered from depression, why that was the case. Because when we suppress, when we follow suit, when we do what we're told, and when we think that what we're doing is the right way to do it, we suppress so much of our truth, so much of our gifts, and it's heartbreaking. Even as I say this, there's emotion moving in me, because I can see it on a collective level, and I can see how strong our survival mechanisms are that pull people from their hearts and pull people into striving and pushing and forcing, and a lot of people thinking that they are doing what they think that they need to be doing. They're just doing their best, and sometimes they don't realize maybe even the damage that they're creating for themselves if they tell themselves the truth. Now, another thing is, we cannot save anyone else. We cannot wake anyone else up. We cannot change the world outside of us unless we can see what parts of ourselves, our own shadow, the parts where we've not even realized we've given our power away because of the way that the world is set up. We cannot change outside of us unless we can start to look inward and really see where we are still not free, where we're still suppressing our voice, where we're still people pleasing, where we are still projecting our rage or pushing our rage down, where we are not taking aligned action because the fear of judgment and annihilation is so visceral, it shuts you down. We live in a world where we have been living in functional freeze without even realizing it. This is why I am so passionate about my work. So there is many different ways of working with me, or just come and join in listening to my channel and I'll just be sharing so many different insights and seeings from my own journey, from my own experiences, and allow some of the things to trigger you. Allow some of the things that actually make you think, well, I don't really agree with that. Because in this day and age, we need to be listening to all points and really tuning into what feels right. Discernment is so important for us right now. And there can be more than one truth. And this is something that we are, as humans, are not good at. We will literally kill another human if they don't agree with our beliefs. All you need to do is just look back and back and back at history. It is insane. We're seeing it now, still. And this is how powerful the shadow of the human being is. It will pull you and disconnect you from your heart so much that humans actually do one another damage. So this work is really powerful. Now, something that I'm really wanting to speak on today is the heart. And we've all heard that saying. It's the journey back to our hearts. It's the journey from the head to the heart. It's not far, but it's a long freaking way to really honestly come back into your heart. I understand why it's so hard. I understand why it's so hard for so many people, especially when you potentially have witnessed just like some real pain. Anything traumatic, anything that was perceived as traumatic. And this is something that I really want to speak on because perceived trauma can be just as intense as actual physical, like real trauma. And this is where we get really confused, especially as children, when you've perceived something that has been as traumatic as something like physically traumatic. It's still physical because we still feel abandonment, annihilation. Like there's so much heartbreak, despair, deep grief. But I also understand as humans, as we're moving through this time, we can't avoid the trauma. We cannot avoid it. I believe it's part of our experience here as humans to feel into the polarities that are here on earth. And actually, when we experience trauma, it will pull us from our hearts. We want to shut our hearts down. Now, it doesn't mean to bypass what has happened, the experiences that we have been through, and a lot of the time we haven't actually emotionally alchemized certain things that have happened. We end up just getting on with life, or we might talk about it and then we keep talking about it and then feeling like we are re-traumatizing ourselves constantly. Or we can speak about it, organize it, and see why, and then we somatically start to diffuse and alchemize the charge so we can outgrow the looping patterns that keep us stuck. My work now is very much around somatic and shadow work together. I can see the evolution of my own practices, of my own spaces, of my own courses, of my own events. And one thing that I have really realized that I can see is really hard for humans is that to be so deeply in your heart also allows you to really move through emotion organically. What do I mean by that? To be in your heart means to really be with the rawness of your heart. To really be in your heart is to feel the grief that you were never able to feel when you were young, because you couldn't conceptually understand it, let alone be able to feel into that depth of heartbreak. It would have felt like a death. The more I do this work, the more I see as humans, we are not good at holding space for grief. We're not good at feeling our grief. We get very frightened that if we go there and feel it, we will get stuck there. I want to tell you, you will not get stuck there. Feeling the pain in your heart is that saying of the only way is through. And I just want to add another layer to that without going too deep into around heartbreak and alchemizing heartbreak. Anger, rage, protects the heart. And something else that I'm really passionate about is feeling our anger responsibly, allowing our anger diffuse and channeling it into something that is about creating change and taking action. But we have to feel the anger first to alchemize that charge from the body, otherwise it ends up being projected onto someone else, or we end up pushing it right down. It's one of the most important emotions to feel, and I can't tell you, because a lot of the time we're witness to so much out there, it's so hard to feel it, right? It's so hard to feel into when we're looking outside of us. Parts of us that we have shut down and pushed down, or we have witnessed, like I said, so much pain in the world where we've closed off our hearts, or we have started to take on that functional freeze. Because to functionally freeze is to numb, is to go into collapse. And it is mechanical. It is so mechanical, and it's like a safety mechanism that literally will come in and shut you down to keep you safe. People pleasing is not something that you just stop doing. It is a mechanism, a safety mechanism. And we do it automatically without you even seeing that you have done it. You've people pleased and fawned. Or you've just gone in complete disassociation and shut yourself down. And I'm not going to go super deep into these, but this is the crux of the work that I do. And I've created a 4-month program. This is where the evolution is happening, and I'm just allowing it to unfold every cohort. But there is a journey that I take you through the elements. And in this right now, and I'm not saying this just for a marketing tool, but it actually feels that this work is so important. It's so easy for us to look outside of ourselves. It's so easy to go and do the next course. It's that you think is going to get you there. It's so easy to say when or one day. It's so easy to keep unconsciously believing that someone else is going to save us. Now, this journey, we go through all of the elements, and why I use the elements is because we are all of the elements. We are not separate from the elements. They are within us and they are around us. And then when you look at different lineages from certain Eastern lineages, like the chakras, Indian yogic philosophy, and I'm going kind of way back, and Chinese medicine, the Chinese medicine wheel, then even to many other different lineages, they've brought the elements in. Even in Mayan lineages, the elements are everywhere. There are so many different lineages. We as human beings are deeply connected. We forget that. Yet at the same time, we all have our own unique expression, and what we are personally moving through affects everything collectively. But we are so taught to save another, look outside of ourselves, as a protective mechanism to actually avoid what is actually showing up for us. Now, this journey through the elements, we go from earth to water to fire to air to ether. Now, this whole somatic certification will give you a set structure to teach, which you can teach moving through those elements, or you can pick and choose the elements. They're all related to an inquiry and some movement and somatic tools, and you can guide someone through connecting them with these elements. Earth is always the foundation for me. Earth is the foundation. Earth is the deep, deep, deep connect to our bodies. Earth is the deep, 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 deep connect to feeling safe. We connect with the kidneys and the urinary bladder. And for instance, in Chinese medicine, the kidneys and the urinary bladder are connected to the element of water. Now, earth and water are like the first elements, the foundations. And when I speak about this element of earth, it's allowing us to really be in our human experience. We physically and somatically work with different tools, yin practices, but from a somatic lens. Self-touch, mirror work, breath, caress, nurturing, nourishing. I'm just giving you these insights. And we start off in earth because it's so easy to, again, look outside of us. We struggle to actually see, what is my experience today? Now, the difference in how I layer these somatic tools is I actually start to bring in an inquiry to your subconscious. And it's not straightforward because our subconscious is sneaky. It's so sneaky. It doesn't want to be seen. It wants to stay in the shadows. It really wants to stay in the shadows. And this is why I'm so passionate talking about shadow work and then interlinking it with somatic inquiry, because when we somatically can map, it actually allows us to look at the subconscious easier. Now, it's not a straightforward game. And this is the reason why I always start off in earth. I'll give you a little bit of an insight into water, but I'm not going to share too much. You will feel if this is calling you, this work. But water, we work with the womb, we work with our voice, understanding the vagus nerve, polyvagal theory, shaking, disassociation, freeze. So we work with, I bring in so much around the nervous system and the polyvagal theory, and how we don't really even realize that we are just functioning in stuck states in order to survive. How powerful the voice is. And I don't mean from a performance place. It's the same way as free movement. Free movement, a lot of us don't even realize that we still are moving from a place of performance. There's so much to unpack here. The voice is very much connected to the womb space, your cervix as a woman. This is why the voice has been suppressed for years. As you can see, there are so many layers to this. And sometimes, I feel like even with marketing, I feel like I'm giving it a bit of a disservice of just trying to get it out there. And this is why I felt like I needed some long form content to share what I'm creating, what I'm about, like what's on my mind, what I'm feeling, because this human experience is to be experienced. And we live in a world where our attention is the highest form of currency, and we don't realize we are being pulled from our center all the time. You have all the power within you. I believe that community and authenticity is really craved right now, but because we've been so used to being fed a show, an act, we can't discern what's true and what's not. So, this is my first little share. I will be sharing more on my own personal story, more on Sambaddha, more on reclamation, more on just my work and on certain views. I don't want to get too political, but I think it's also important to speak about the things that a lot of people don't really want to speak about. And in that, I am also navigating and outgrowing my own parts that are scared of being seen and being heard. The alchemy of activating and using my voice again is so deeply ancestral, but I also wouldn't have it any other way, because I also know what it has taken for me to get to this place. And I can see how important it is for those deeply, deeply heart-led beings, soul-led beings, to start to alchemize and outgrow these somatic imprints as well as thought forms, which we also take on, that are keeping you stuck and in fear and looping. Reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. Let me know how this lands. And I look forward to just sharing more. I love you.